Okay, fourth time may be a charm. Hopefully this works. Hi, so today is the beginning of the 15-year anniversary of the Benoit tragedy, which I've talked about on my channel the past couple weeks. So, this story, if you guys have not heard it, Chris Benoit allegedly murdered his wife and son before taking his own life the weekend of June 22nd to June 24th in 2007. However, in a very strange move, WWE and police decided to sweep this incident under the rug and declare it as a double murder-suicide. Benoit was scheduled to face CM Punk at that weekend's Vengeance pay-per-view in Houston, Texas. Chris didn't show up that night. He was dead at 40 years old. So, my take on this, I'm going to be debunking a couple theories. Hopefully this doesn't cut me off again. So, the first theory, we're just going to get right into it. The roid rage theory. Oh my god. I didn't watch the news in 2007. Okay, I was actually 7 at the time, so I didn't really care. So, news coverage was all over it. Like, roid rage was the big thing, and steroids, always steroids, right? Well, yes, he might have been taking testosterone. They found 10 times the level of testosterone in his body. 10 times more than what the therapeutic level should be. I don't know what the therapeutic level is, but I don't know how he took it and didn't fail his test. Like, cause, then again, according to Nancy, their policy is suckish. But, yeah, the roid rage theory is just nonsense, is all it is. Because if it was roid rage, Daniel and Nancy would have been dead within minutes of each other. I don't think they died that close within minutes of each other, but I think they did die closer than what people think. I don't even know where they're getting this time frame either, but we'll just run with it. Nancy was believed to have been dead around 1 a.m. that morning, and then Daniel somewhere. I don't know if Daniel's is recommended, but I'm going to say it was earlier than 8 o'clock because Chris made a phone call to their neighbor telling him that Daniel wouldn't be at their horse riding camp at their house. Even though it was the day before. Now, Chris's cover story was that Chris and Nancy were vomiting with food poisoning, and he would be in for the show that night. Look, he was telling Chavo this while his family was dead in the house. So, like, here's the thing. He's talking to Chavo. I'm laughing at the absurdity of this. I have a heart. I'm not laughing at the incident itself. He apparently was talking to Chavo, after he had supposedly killed Nancy. Look, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you talk to your friend after you've, I don't know, maybe he was trying to kill time, came out of it, realized what he'd done. I don't know. This is just me guessing. Educated guess, so hopefully this doesn't cut me off. Listen. The roid rage thing is nonsense. As much as I hate Vince McMahon, oh my god, you have no idea how much I hate him. I could get into this whole freaking Vince McMahon trial, but I'm not going to because this is not what I'm doing. This is the Benoit thing. But as much as I hate Vince McMahon, I do agree with the fact that he said that there was no roid rage because they would have had cuts and bruises all over them. Look, I don't agree with the fact that our next theory, the CTE theory. Guess what? There's more to CTE than just memory loss. There is. Really, look it up. Look up side effects of CTE, people. It's memory loss, it's behavioral problems, it's differentiating, can't say that word, differentiating from right and wrong. It's paranoia, which many people believe Chris had. Speaking of which, that diary that they claim they found, I want to know what's in that, because, like, not that I would read it. I can't read it. It's not in Braille. Yeah, I know. Sorry. But someone needs to look more into this diary and see if there was any clues, because if he's writing this stuff in his diary, he clearly is going through something. Like, it's really weird. Yeah, but the whole CTE thing, people were so quick to say, oh, he knew what he was doing, there was no sign of struggle, or there was no, like, he left a suicide note in one of his Bibles. Okay, that might have been true, but, I don't think at the time of him doing all this stuff, he knew what he was doing. Like, when he was killing Nancy and killing Daniel, I don't think he knew what he was doing. I think he was blacked out because they were both drinking, because they were fighting. And I think they tried to hide their prescription medication problems from each other. And I think that's what caused them to have problems too, Chris and Nancy. Listen, people are gonna say he didn't know what he was doing. Not at the time, no. But maybe after he came to, yeah, he was probably like, oh crap, I just killed my wife. I just killed my son. What the frick do I do now? I can't just leave him here. I've got a pay-per-view to go to. Like, he was supposed to face CM Punk for the title that night, which would have been a good match. But, how's that going to look when, he comes home and Nancy and Daniel are still there where he left them? Like, what's that going to look like? Then again, that's where I don't think he was in his right mind when he did it. Because who just leaves them there? Why would he just leave them there? If I were you, I'd be getting rid of them. I think he was trying to process what he had done. I think he was still trying to process that he just did something that he's never going to be forgiven for. Like, you know what I'm saying here? Look, it's no secret that he had a bunch of concussions. And he knew something was going on. He just didn't appreciate what it was. Like, didn't know what it was at the time. He didn't know it was CTE. And here's the scary part. You cannot be diagnosed with CTE until you are dead. Benoit was the first one to be diagnosed, and Test was the second. How about that? Like, within 2 years, Test and Chris Benoit are gone. Obviously Test didn't kill anyone, but, like, that just says something about the scary aspects of this disease. When they studied Chris's brain, they said it resembled a man with a mind of an 85-year-old with Alzheimer's. And again, people are going to point out, oh, there was no CTE involved. You knew what he was doing. Guess what? You guys need to listen up right now, because I spent a whole week last week looking up CTE side effects. It's not just memory loss. It's freaking memory loss. It's emotional problems, stuff like that. And yeah, the testosterone probably increased it, the mood swing. Look, what he had in his head that weekend, he was on a path that weekend that he couldn't get off of, I think. and everything just kind of factor in the concussions. I mean, yeah, that's a man crying for help. That's not a murderer that decides to go home and kill his family. So, because, like, how does one decide if they have CTE that they're going to kill their family? Explain that. And the weight machine. There's another theory. People are wondering why, he killed his family, but he decided he was going to leave himself unmarked with the weight machine by wrapping a towel around the cord. Let me explain something. He looked up a search on the computer that weekend. What's the quickest and fastest way to break a neck? That's what his search was, one of them. The other was about the prophet Elijah in the Bible. No, I haven't heard that one yet. But, yeah, the towel was to give him more leverage, to give him the most maximum amount of pain possible. Because maybe he had realized what he had done. Maybe he had realized, and I'm not saying that it was good for him to do that, to commit suicide or do this. But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get in his head. He probably thought, you know what? My family's dead. I can't just, because he couldn't get rid of them after they had been in the house 3 days, because that would look freaking weird. Imagine him going to that pay-per-view and facing CM Punk in that match, which undoubtedly would have been a good one, and having that in the back of his mind, oh shoot, I gotta go home and take care of these bodies that are in my house, that are my family. I mean, think about that. Think about if he had gone through with his plan to go to that pay-per-view. And props to Chavo Guerrero. Oh my god. Chavo's been through a lot. Okay, Chavo was instrumental in both of these. And by instrumental, I don't mean he had anything to do with it, but it's like Chavo was the one that found Eddie in his hotel room. And when Eddie died, Chris just lost it. He just shut down from everyone else. Didn't want to talk to anyone except a couple of close people. And I think everything he ever, everything that was in his head was the only thing that he had left. And part of that, whatever he had of that left, snapped. And he did something. That last flying headbutt maybe broke that final secure part of his mind that he just blacked out, killed his family, came to, realized what he'd done, and then decided to kill himself. That's what I think happened. And you can say, yeah, he didn't know what he was doing, but maybe not at the time, but after he did, he felt really bad about it, and he didn't know what else to do, so he just... And people can say, well, he's a coward for committing suicide. Why didn't he just face up to what he had done? And you don't understand, he probably was processing that all weekend. That's why nothing was done with them. That's why he didn't go to that pay-per-view to face CM Punk. That's why he texted Chavo his address. Probably. Even after telling him, hey, don't tell anyone about my address. Because Chavo, if you remember in that interview he did with Jericho on Talk is Jericho podcast in 2016, he said that he had stayed at Chris's house that week. Or a couple weeks before, something like that. And Chris told him, don't give my address out or whatever. And then this happens, and then, Chavo's the one getting text messages about, hey, this is where you can find me. Like, that's freaking insane. I mean, this is a case that needs to be looked into because there's so many missing parts that, like, just don't add up. And the reason why they swept this under the rug, there might have been an FBI cover-up. Because what makes me think that is the text messages that were on Nancy's phone. Nancy was texting Chris a bunch throughout that whole week and throughout that whole year, really, up until that point, even going back further than that. But there were no records of Chris's responses or indication that he had texted. Well, there was a couple, like, telling her that he'd be home whenever. But, like, just some of the stuff that she was saying, like, because there was police reports that indicated that there was a record of their text messages. Chris, I mean, there was text messages of him just encouraging coworkers, or, he included his kids in all of his, like, holiday greetings or whatever, happy Thanksgiving or whatever, from David, Chris, Nancy, Daniel, and Megan. And, like, he included his kids in his stuff, but, like, Nancy, according to her, he didn't care, but, like, I don't really see that, because, I mean, he talked to David that Father's Day, I guess, and they were planning for him and Megan to come down that summer. That's what they did. They got Nancy and Chris always got Megan and David. Those are Chris's other two kids, for those that don't know. Every summer, every Thanksgiving, holidays, all that fun stuff. Because I don't see that. I don't see Chris neglecting them. And then there was this thing about him making a separate bank account for his wife, his ex-wife, and two kids. Which, I mean, I guess set Nancy off, because she was thinking, oh, so you don't trust me to take care of your kids if something happens to you. Like, I can understand that, maybe, but you didn't need to go into that other stuff, If he wasn't talking to you, maybe it was because he didn't think that you would care. Like, I don't know, this is just me. But, this whole thing is just sad, Not only did Chris and Nancy and Daniel get blackmailed, but his other kids did too. David claims that Chavo and Chris Jericho were the only two that, like, reached out to him after this happened. And yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about David Benoit and what I think of his ambitions to become a wrestler. And then Friday we're wrapping it up with what I think of them erasing him, of them blackmailing Chris Benoit. I apologize too for not getting these TNA videos out last week. I was going to come up and do a Slammiversary 2022 review, but I couldn't watch it. But I heard AJ Styles made an appearance of some sort, so that was good. Yeah, that's what I think of this whole thing. I don't think he knew what he was doing at the time, but when he came to, he realized what he'd done and was trying to process it. That's why nothing was done with Chris and Nancy's bodies. That's what I think, anyway. And people can sit here. I know people are going to comment on this if they can and be like, oh, she's protecting a murderer, or, look, I can still sit here and watch Chris Benoit's matches, but that still is in my head. Like, I don't not think about that, but I don't get to the point where, oh, I can't watch this match because of what he did. Like, I can't just watch, I can't not watch the Chris Benoit DVD and think about that, but I don't. That's just my opinion, okay? I respect everyone else's opinion. You don't have to agree with me. You don't even have to like me for it. But I just want you to respect my opinion. on what happened that weekend. And tomorrow we'll be getting into David Benoit's ambitions of being a wrestler. And Friday we'll be getting into what the cons and pros of him being blackmailed are. So hopefully I didn't leave anything out. If I did, I will address it tomorrow.